While my daughter was fighting for every breath in the ICU, her husband was raising a glass of champagne aboard a luxury yacht. I stood frozen at Laura Caldwell's bedside, room 528, where the beeping of the monitors echoed like a countdown to her life. The wedding ring on her finger glinted under the cold fluorescent light, a bitter reminder of betrayal. Dr. Adrian Blake had been missing for 3 days, but I knew exactly where he was. Vanessa Liu flaunted it all on Instagram. Sunsets, expensive wine, a woman in a red bikini who was not my daughter, and a $52,000 yacht moored at Dock C-17, Harbor Point. While Laura's brain swelled from trauma, at 10:35 p.m., head nurse Clara Mendoza pulled me aside, her hands trembling after 38 years on the job, as she whispered, "Mr. Caldwell, there's something you need to know about your son-in-law." What I saw in the file she handed me changed everything and opened the door to a true nightmare. The next morning, exactly at 7 o'clock sharp, the second hand of the ICU wall clock clicked with a hollow snap. Cold air from the vent drifted down the empty corridor, heavy with the sting of disinfectant. A fluorescent light flickered in a long, strained pulse, and static crackled through a guard's radio as a "code blue" was called on another floor. A shiver ran down my spine as my eyes drifted to the digital clock on the nurse's station. 7:25. That number 25 returned again like an omen. At the ICU doors, a security guard raised his hand to stop me. His voice was procedural, detached. "Sir, the family-only restriction was activated at 6:55, signed by Dr. Adrian Blake. Your access card has been disabled in the system." I held up the cold plastic badge, the magnetic strip scored by a scratch. The scanner beeped red. Access denied. Locked out. I didn't argue. Instead, I pressed short, clipped questions, each one icy. Where's the written order? Who verified it? Which shift logged it into the system? He only repeated, "Doctor's orders, sir." I walked to the parking lot and sat in my car for 3 hours. 10:08, 11:39, 11:56. The minute hand crept like mockery. The squeak of gurney wheels passed by, sirens wailed at the gate, a strip of sunlight slid slowly across my steering wheel. No one called back. Nothing. At exactly 3:30 p.m., in the cafeteria smelling of weak coffee and reheated food, Nurse Clara Mendoza found me. Still in her scrubs, her badge bore 38 years of service. She sat down, sliding a manila folder face down onto the table, covering the title, a habit of someone long used to concealing files. The edges were frayed, the paperclip rusted, the photocopies striped with gray. "Mr. Henry Caldwell, if this gets out, I'll lose my license, but you need to see it." I opened the folder. Inside lay a DNR order, "Do not resuscitate." I read the signature again and again. The strokes were too neat, too deliberate, even spacing. Perfect slant. Not Adrian's usual sloppy hand. The blue ink still smudged, as if signed in a rush. And especially the letter P, it didn't match his handwriting at all. Clara leaned in, her voice low, her finger stabbing the line of text. "It was uploaded into the system at 16:20 yesterday, but according to the audit trail, the attending physician, Dr. Patterson, never co-signed. Policy requires dual sign-off. This has only one." I flipped back, scanning the timestamp, 16:20. But I had seen Vanessa Liu's Instagram story docking at Harbor Point at 5:45 p.m. That left an 85-minute gap. A signature from the sea. "This is medical document forgery," I whispered. Clara nodded, her eyes glinting with fear. I closed the folder, feeling the tendons in my hand tighten. One forged signature, and I knew my son-in-law had already begun a deadly game. The hospital intercom echoed, "Code 6, ICU East Wing." The hallway reeked of antiseptic, fluorescent lights flickering with every beat. The clock on the wall ticked relentlessly, as if counting down to something grim. In the cafeteria, plastic chairs still carried the faint scent of weak coffee. The vending machine hummed to life, its cold blue glow reflecting across Nurse Clara Mendoza's tense face as she hurried over. She unlocked her phone and placed it in front of me. "Mr. Caldwell, Look closely at this. On the screen was the visitor log for room 528. The pale blue light illuminated each entry. I counted. Only 2 bore the name Dr. Adrian Blake. November 24th, 8:36 p.m. November 30th, 12:05 p.m. 2 visits, in 14 days. Empty, cold like the hospital room where Laura was still fighting for her life. Clara leaned in, whispering, "Do you know who he calls? Not family. Every day he calls the insurance company, over and over, asking only one thing. When will the death benefits be paid?" My fists clenched. Life insurance. $4.7 million. He forced her to buy it. Said it was to protect the future. Clara nodded slightly, fury flickering in her eyes. But that's not all. She opened her bag, pulled out a gray file stamped with a cold red seal. On the cover, a phrase that made my chest tighten: early-stage dementia. This is the petition he just filed with Child Protective Services, claiming you're too old, showing signs of early dementia, and therefore unfit to raise Sophie if her mother dies. If this is approved, you'll lose custody, even if Laura survives. It hit me like a hammer to the chest, heavy, breathless. Clara placed her hand on the file, her voice dropping, almost trembling. He's isolating her, cutting off everyone who loves Laura. And Mr. Caldwell, that is the last step we usually see, right before a patient suddenly doesn't make it. My phone buzzed. A text message. Just 4 cold lines. "Henry, tomorrow 2 p.m. My office. Come alone." Not Dad, not May, just Henry. Distant, threatening. Clara took a few steps toward the exit, then turned back. Her eyes darkened under the flickering light. In 38 years of nursing, I've witnessed every kind of tragedy, but I have never seen a husband who wouldn't touch his wife's fading hand, except him. That night, the hospital lay shrouded in a cold yellow light spilling across empty corridors. The echo of a guard's footsteps beat steadily in the distance, blending with the heavy antiseptic hanging in the air. I slipped through a side passage the night shift rarely watched, moving with the instinct of a man who had spent 33 years inside courtrooms. ICU room 528. I sat beside Laura Caldwell's bed. Her hand was still warm, and beneath my thumb her pulse beat steady, fragile. Suddenly, her finger twitched a reflex, unconscious, but enough to spark a fragile hope inside me. The monitors sounded beep, beep, sharp, high notes, sometimes stretching, sometimes dipping irregularly like a tense symphony between life and death. I looked at Laura, remembering her as a child, that tiny trembling hand clutching mine on her first day of school. 32 years later, that same hand was reaching for help. But another image forced its way into my mind. The yacht photos. Dr. Adrian Blake's arm draped around Vanessa Liu, both of them laughing, champagne glasses glittering. And in one photo, the reflection in the glass had captured what they never intended to reveal: evidence of betrayal and greed. The clock on the wall ticked over to 12:26. That number, once again, like an omen. I made the decision that would change everything. I pulled out my phone, dialed a number I hadn't called in 3 years. The line picked up after a single short ring. "May? 3 years. I owe you a favor." "What do you need?" The low, gravelly voice of Victor Ramirez. "My son-in-law," I answered, my voice low and cold. "Turn over everything, finances, phone records, yacht logs. I want the truth, down to the last dollar." "Deadline?" "Not today. Yesterday." The call ended, sharp and final. I opened my pension checkbook, my hand trembling slightly, but the ink of my signature pressed deep into the paper. $30,000 a retainer for Victor. The blue ink bled at the corner, like the seal of a verdict not yet spoken. I closed the checkbook, eyes fixed on Laura's faint breaths. Adrian had no idea that the very photos he and Vanessa flaunted in luxury had already become the first indictment against him. 8:10 in the morning. The shrill ring of the phone shattered the silence of the ICU. The scent of coffee in my hand mingled with antiseptic, while the cold glow of the monitors washed over Laura Caldwell's pale face, haunting and familiar all at once. I read the sports section aloud to her: baseball, her favorite, as though clinging to a fragment of normal life. "Henry, we need to talk about Laura's condition." Dr. Adrian Blake's voice came through the line, cold, flat, detached, as if he were speaking about a stranger, not his own wife. I kept my tone steady. 33 years in family court had taught me one thing. In the opening move, never reveal emotion. The brain scans show severe trauma. Let's be realistic. Laura is no longer Laura. She's just a body kept alive by machines. I looked at Laura's chest, rising and falling, each breath steady, defiant. "A body?" I answered slowly. "I can hear my daughter's heartbeat louder than the lies in your voice." A heavy silence. Then he added, "Dr. Nolan Kerr. He's the best in the state. He confirmed recovery is virtually impossible." I wrote the name down. Victor Ramirez would verify. "Henry, I know this is hard, but I have to think about Sophie's future, about my career. I can't keep hanging in limbo like this." "Your future?" I pressed. "Yes, Laura would want me to move on, to find happiness again." Images burned through my mind: Vanessa Liu in a red bikini, champagne raised high, her radiant smile, while Laura's skull was being drilled open in emergency surgery. "Adrian, are you familiar with California's community property laws?" A long pause. His voice trembled. "I don't see how that's relevant." "Good. Because as her legal husband, you're entitled to 50% of Laura's estate, including her life insurance policy, but only if the marriage is intact when she dies. $2.2 million. A perfect motive to turn your wife into an inheritance." I heard his throat tighten, his breathing quicken, the cracks in his arrogance widening. "What exactly are you implying?" "I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. And then there's your spending, like the $52,000 yacht at Harbor Point, Dock C-17. Lovely." Vanessa posted the pictures on Instagram. "Very romantic." A sharp inhale came over the line. "You've been watching Vanessa's social media?" "Adrian, I've sat through 33 years of liars in courtrooms. I know where to look. I notice things like how a resident surgeon can suddenly afford luxury yachts, or how a DNR order was filed at 1620 while you were still at sea. Timestamps don't lie." Silence. Then his weak defense. "You misunderstand. Laura is brain dead. Machines are keeping her alive. She'll never come back." "Interesting, because this morning I called Dr. Henley. He confirmed he's never examined a Laura Caldwell. Never even heard her name." Dead air. "Adrian," I let his name hang heavy, "you're not as clever as you think." "What do you want?" he finally blurted. "I want you to stop filing forged DNRs. I want you to stop deceiving the insurance company, and I want you to visit your wife, the woman you once swore to protect." "And if I don't?" I smiled, letting him hear it in my voice. "Then I'll make sure the whole world knows what kind of husband you really are." "You're threatening me?" "Number, I'm informing you. There's a difference. This isn't a warning. This is the opening verdict of your life, Adrian, and I am the judge." A long silence. When he spoke again, his tone had changed, low, sharp, commanding. "Listen carefully. Here, I decide who gets in and who is barred. I'm a surgeon trained at Northbridge School of Medicine, and you're nothing but a washed-up small-town judge. Laura will die, and when she does, I'll remarry. Sophie will have a mother who knows her duty." The words struck me like a whip. I kept my voice flat as glass. "Thank you. I'll quote that verbatim in the record." He pressed on, harsher. "From now on, you're not welcome at Bayview Medical Center. Security has your photo. Step into the ICU. They'll call the police." I thought of Nurse Clara Mendoza, of the nurses who had seen him neglect his wife. "Adrian, 33 years in family court taught me one thing. The person most eager to isolate a dying patient is usually the one with something to hide." "You don't know anything." "I know Vanessa Liu is really Jack 28, working in the hospital's insurance claims department, the very office processing your cases. She's accessed patient insurance records, including Laura's. HIPAA violations aren't a game." "You're bluffing. I know you took Vanessa to Ocean Pearl Grill 54 times in 20 months. An average of $682 per meal, roughly $30,000 in dining on a resident's salary. And I know you began planning 3 years ago, the moment Laura increased her life insurance coverage. Dead air. His breath came fast, shallow. You have no proof. Not yet. I hung up. 8:15. I called Victor Ramirez. How long to pull every financial record on Dr. Adrian Blake credit, bank, real estate? Give me 24 hours. 4:20 a.m. I sat by Laura's bed. The ICU hummed with only the ceiling fan and the beeping monitor, high notes that dipped unpredictably. Her hand was still warm in mine. His words echoed, a washed-up judge who can't even keep track of dates. 33 years on the bench had taught me, documents outlast tears. My phone lit up. Victor's preliminary report had arrived an hour earlier. The blue glow spilled across Laura's oxygen mask. Adrian Blake, 42 years old, Northbridge School of Medicine, resident surgeon, Bayview Medical Center. Income, $64,000 per year. 8 months spending, $132,000. 2. Impossible. Yacht rental, $52,000. Doc C-17, noted. Jewelry purchases, Bellevue Avenue, $36,000 for Vanessa Liu. 49 dinners at Ocean Pearl Grill, $31,740. Patek Philippe, watch, $22,000. The glass face catching the cold blue glare each time he passed by. Worse, Adrian raided Laura's finances, not just the joint account, but her inheritance trust. Total withdrawals, $412,000 in 5 months, small, steady, designed to avoid alerts. I remembered Laura at 9, running to me after school. Daddy, guess what I learned today? She always believed in people. She believed in Adrian. My phone buzzed again. His message, change of plan, tomorrow instead, do not contact. He was rattled. Good. The final line of Victor's report chilled me. Insurance call logs. Every week Adrian phoned Mutual of California. Expedite death benefits within 48 hours. Required documents. He wasn't just planning murder. He was timing it. I rose, looked out over the parking lot. Only a few night shift cars remained. Clara's among them. My decision fell like a gavel. I wouldn't just stop him. I would destroy him. 4:25. I went home. Mail piled up. One envelope from Sophie's school about her absence. I opened the cabinet, third drawer, back left corner, my retirement file. $940,000 saved for Laura and Sophie. I wrote a check for $70,000, the increased retainer for Victor. The pen dug deep, ink blotting like a seal on an unspoken verdict. I called Margaret Doyle. It's 4 a.m, Henry. Emergency petition, temporary guardianship for Sophie, imminent risk. Charges? Forged DNR, insurance fraud, theft of marital assets, threat to custody. That's expensive. Money isn't the issue. 7 a.m. I slipped back into the hospital through the side gate, the old habit. Laura breathed steadily. I leaned close. I'm here. I'll protect you. And Sophie too. On the monitor, her heartbeat ticked 1 notch higher. She heard me. 7:30. Margaret called back. Remember, forensic accounting doesn't just find money. It pulls up every hidden account, every forged record, every federal crime. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. Then start. 9:20. Dr. Evelyn Park arrived on time, 25 years with the FBI Financial Crimes Unit, now consulting. Mr. Caldwell, I reviewed the preliminary files. Your assessment? Your son-in-law is either unbelievably stupid or arrogantly blind, possibly both. She opened her laptop, spreadsheets filling the screen columns of time, IP addresses, locations, small withdrawals, none over $20,000, to avoid federal reporting. Fatal mistake. He used his hospital ID. The EMR audit trail shows September 16th, 1538, 7,600, withdrawn from Laura's trust. Workstation, or 2. User, B. Blake. At the same time, scheduled appendectomy on a 13-year-old. He couldn't be in 2 places at once. She clicked another tab. October 20th, $9,500 spent on Bellevue Avenue, a diamond tennis bracelet for Vanessa, perfectly matched with a $9,100 withdrawal the day before. How much total? I asked. $412,000 in 5 months, and that's just what I found in 5 hours. My phone rang, Victor. I put him on speaker. The hospital's QA policy records, internal calls. Adrian to Vanessa. What did you find? November 23rd, 22:37. Don't worry, old man won't matter. Laura will be gone soon and we'll have it all. November 30th, 12:18. Insurance says they need a death certificate within 48 hours for expedited processing. I'll handle it. Dr. Park looked up. Organized insurance fraud, minimum 22 years. Anything else? I asked. Yes, Victor said. Hospital cameras. Adrian not only avoided Laura's room, he blocked other doctors from giving a second opinion malpractice. And the yacht photos Vanessa posted have GPS. They were celebrating. The file arrived. I opened it on Dr. Park's screen. November 19th, 1728. Adrian and Vanessa raising champagne. Caption, New Beginnings. The timestamp matched exactly 45 minutes after Laura's emergency brain surgery began. 12:37, 3:28, 4:42, 5:55 numbers carved like repeated cuts. Enough to indict? I asked. Enough to erase him, Dr. Park said, financially, professionally, legally. 11:31. I called Dr. Linda Crawford, Chief of Staff at Bayview Medical Center. Linda, major ethics breach, unauthorized access to patient accounts, using hospital systems to steal, forging medical records. This is extremely serious, Henry. Name? Dr. Adrian Blake. I'll need proof. Dr. Park will send within the hour bank records, timestamps, recordings, and more. He blocked doctors from examining Laura when her EEG still showed activity medical negligence. Meanwhile, calling insurance about death benefits. We convene the medical board this afternoon. Will you attend? I'll be in the front row. 11:50. Unknown number. Nurse Helen Foster, ICU night shift. Early this morning, 4 o'clock, Dr. Blake entered Laura's room with a syringe, no physician order. What happened? I stopped him. He got angry, claimed it was routine care. The syringe was unmarked. I sealed it in an evidence bag. Red tape, do not tamper. Sent to the lab. 13:20. Dr. Park called. Lab's done. The syringe contained concentrated potassium chloride, with insulin traces, enough to stop a heart in minutes and mask it as diabetic shock. Motive, means, opportunity. All three. The rest was just procedure. 1:23 p.m. 4th floor of the Bayview Medical Center parking structure. Flickering fluorescent lights cast Adrian Blake's trembling shadow across the damp concrete wall. The stench of gasoline mixed with stale moisture turned the place into an underground courtroom. He was heading toward his BMW, medical bag in hand. Adrian, I called. He froze, turned slowly. Yesterday's confidence was gone. His face had gone pale. Henry, what are you doing here? Security already has your photo. I know. I stepped forward, and he instinctively stepped back. You know the interesting thing about security cameras? They record everything, even surgeons sneaking around the ICU at 3 a.m. with an unmarked syringe. You're slandering me, Henry. You'll regret this. Concentrated potassium chloride, Adrian. In federal prison, they don't call it treatment, they call it evidence of murder. His keys slipped from his fingers, clattering against the cement like the gunshot that killed his career. That was routine care. Really? Nurse Helen Foster saw no physician order, no signature, no pharmacy log, and hospital policy requires every vial to be labeled. Yours was blank. His expensive suit looked slept in, wrinkled and greasy. On his wrist, an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak paid for with Laura's money caught the cold blue light overhead. How's the yacht these days, Adrian? He flinched, as if slapped. Vanessa's champagne photos were charming while Laura was in brain surgery. Very romantic. You've been spying on us. I've been protecting my daughter from a husband who stole her money to buy jewelry for his mistress. I pressed closer. His back hit the BMW's door. $412,000 in 5 months, an impressive theft on a $64,000 salary. That money came from our joint account. Laura's trust fund isn't joint property, and you accessed it illegally. His face drained of color. You can't prove that. I raised my phone, screen glowing. Dr. Evelyn Park's forensic report. Timestamps, Adrian. November 2nd. 3:11 p.m. You withdrew $9,500 from Laura's trust. At the exact same time, hospital records place you in OR2, performing an appendectomy on a 13-year-old patient. 2 places at once? Impossible. That's computer fraud, a federal crime. What do you want? The same question as yesterday, but weaker now. A confession. Of what? Attempted murder, insurance fraud, theft, medical negligence. Pick your poison. He glanced wildly around the empty garage, no witnesses to his humiliation. You're insane. Am I? Because Dr. Linda Crawford just convened an emergency medical board meeting at 4 o'clock. They'll be discussing your extracurricular activities. His hand shook so hard the coffee spilled down his sleeve. They can't act without evidence. Evidence? I've got bank statements proving you stole over $420,000. Recorded calls where you schemed to accelerate death benefits within 48 hours. Surveillance video of you trying to inject your wife with your so-called treatment. I pressed the keys back into his palm. Oh, and one more thing. Vanessa deleted her Instagram, terminated her lease yesterday, and called in sick this morning. Accomplices tend to run when the heat rises. Vanessa won't leave me. She loves me. She loves Laura's money. With the FBI involved, chances are she's already looking for a country without an extradition treaty. I turned to leave, then paused. And by the way, Sophie won't be needing a stepmother because you won't be there to provide for her. The coffee cup slipped from his hand, shattering across the concrete. 7 p.m. Channel 7 investigative report exploded across the airwaves. From Laura's room, I watched the broadcast. The visitation restriction had been lifted after my meeting with Dr. Crawford. Reporter Susan Chen, standing before Bayview Medical Center, spoke with icy precision. Resident surgeon Dr. Adrian Blake is under investigation for serious crimes, attempting to murder his comatose wife, insurance fraud, and embezzling more than $500,000 in marital assets. Channel 7 has evidence that he not only betrayed the Hippocratic Oath, but also his own family. His smiling portrait from the hospital website appeared on screen, followed by surveillance footage. His shadow in the ICU at 3 a.m., holding an unmarked syringe. My phone buzzed an unknown number. Judge Caldwell, this is Vanessa. We need to talk. I showed it to Victor Ramirez, who had been with me since 5 p.m. She's scared, Victor said. Probably wants to bargain. Should I respond? Not yet. Let's see how Adrian squirms first. On television, Susan Chen pressed on. Hospital records show Dr. Blake visited his wife only twice in 3 weeks. While lavishing his mistress with luxury spending, including a $47,000 yacht rental posted publicly online at the same time, his wife underwent emergency brain surgery. NET, the screen cut to a photo, Adrian and Vanessa, champagne glasses raised. Timestamp, November 19th, 5:28 p.m. While Laura Caldwell fought for her life, her husband celebrated with another woman. Dr. Linda Crawford appeared next. We have suspended Dr. Blake pending a full investigation. Patient safety is our highest priority. The phone rang, Adrian. You did this. You called the press. You've destroyed me. I didn't call anyone, Adrian. But when you attempt murder in a hospital, the news has a way of spreading. I wasn't trying to kill her. It was treatment. Potassium chloride isn't treatment. It's the drug of execution. Silence. Reporters are asking about the money, about Vanessa. Speaking of, where is Vanessa? She's with a friend. Really? Because her landlord says she moved out yesterday, paid $9,000 cash to terminate the lease. His breath came ragged, shallow. You're ruining my life. You ruined it yourself the moment you decided your wife was worth more dead than alive. The broadcast cut to footage of the very garage where we had faced off 7 hours earlier. Dr. Blake declined an interview, but sources say he became frantic when confronted with evidence. The FBI's Financial Crimes Unit has opened a case. If convicted, he could face up to 40 years in federal prison. On the line, only a whisper remained. 40 years. Insurance fraud is a federal crime, Adrian. So is attempted murder, computer fraud, and malpractice. I need a lawyer. You'll need several. Criminal civil malpractice, federal defense. Expensive. I don't have the money. You've got $268,000 in jewelry, though you'll have to get it back from Vanessa first. Silence. She's not answering. Accomplices tend to think about cooperation deals once the FBI shows up. The news ended with a hotline for tips. My phone lit up with calls from reporters. I powered it off. 8:25 p.m. Victor showed me Vanessa's new account at Lavishly Travels. A post from LAX 2 hours earlier. Flight to Vancouver. Flight to Vancouver. The photo, Vanessa in first class, champagne raised the same pose as on the yacht, only this time alone. Caption, new chapter. Vanessa had jumped ship, and Adrian was left to sink in the storm exactly as planned. 10 o'clock. Cold, fluorescent light washed over the conference table in Margaret Doyle's office. Papers spread across it like the transcripts of a trial already in session. Only the hiss of a marker scraping margins and the shuffle of pages broke the silence. Dr. Evelyn Park sat opposite me, 3 boxes of evidence stacked between us. On top lay a 215-page report, each page a cut, a transaction, a lie, a crime. Mr. Caldwell, Dr. Park said, her voice sharp as steel. Adrian Blake didn't just steal. He built a labyrinth of forgeries, accounts, signatures, records, a man staging his own wife's death with meticulous care. She opened box 1, bank statements, credit card files, hospital EMR access logs. He used variations of his name, A. Blake, Adrian P. Blake, Dr. A. Blake, each account linked to another branch of theft. Her marker slashed dates. November 6th, withdrew $24,000 from Laura's trust. November 11th, $27,000 appeared in an account under A. Blake. November 22nd, $31,600 spent at Van Cleef & Arpels, a diamond necklace for Vanessa Liu, paid for with Laura's grandfather's inheritance. This isn't impulse, Dr. Park concluded. This is years of planning. Box 2 flipped open. Insurance files. A $4.7 million life policy taken out 18 months ago, she said. But to qualify for that level, there had to be a medical exam. She pushed a packet toward me. The health evaluation. The examining physician listed as Dr. Leonard Hale, a retired cardiologist in Santa Fe. I called him yesterday, Dr. Park said. He swore he never examined Laura Caldwell. He'd never even heard her name. Yet in the insurer's file, perfect health results, signed Dr. Hale. The hand was not Adrian's casual scrawl, but it matched the forged DNR signature almost exactly. Practiced forgery, Dr. Park noted, then turned another page. And here, double indemnity clause. Accidental death doubles the payout, $5.8 million. Not coincidence. This is a death sentence he drafted for Laura. My throat went dry. The car accident had thrown my daughter into the ICU. Box 3. Police reports. Crash photos. Forensic analysis. The image hit like a fist. Laura's Honda Civic crumpled around a tree, metal twisted like broken bone. Report shows total brake failure, no mechanical defect. But the brake line tampered. See here? Dr. Park slid me a blown-up photo. A clean slice, gleaming as if made by a scalpel. No one cuts brake lines with a surgical knife unless he's a doctor, she said slowly. Once by car, once by poison. He meant to be certain. My phone buzzed. Victor Ramirez on speaker, his voice carrying a chill. Judge, he just called his malpractice insurer asking if coverage extends to criminal charges. Even now, Adrian was gaming out his own defense. Victor continued. He's liquidating, sold his car yesterday, drained the 401, cleared the joint account, preparing to run. My grip tightened on the table's edge. The syringe from ICU still secure? I asked. Lab confirmed Adrian's prints, with insulin residue. Dr. Park looked up. Insulin mixed with potassium chloride, that's a death cocktail. It disguises cause, makes it look like diabetic shock instead of murder. If injected, how long would Laura have? Minutes, at most. A shiver ran through me, recalling the moment Nurse Helen Foster stopped him at the ICU door. Without her. Summarize the evidence, I said. Dr. Park opened her laptop, her voice steady, weighted like an indictment. Financial crimes, 52 separate thefts, $340,000. Insurance fraud, 11 forged documents. Attempted homicide, 4 incidents with hard evidence. Medical malpractice, divided by abandonment, 24 instances. She shut the laptop. This case cannot be dismissed. Even halved, it still convicts on multiple felonies. 12:20. My phone rang. Agent Isabel Torres, FBI. Mr. Caldwell, federal warrants have been issued for Adrian Blake and Vanessa Liu. Bank fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit murder. Any arrests? Vanessa Liu was detained at Portland International Airport while boarding a flight to Dubai. She'll be extradited. Adrian is still at large. But we recovered something from Vanessa's luggage you'll want to hear. I'm listening. A laptop containing a black ledger of fraud schemes, emails plotting Laura's death, and photos with timestamps showing them celebrating the successful accident the very night Laura was injured, champagne glasses raised, smiling wide. The conference room fell silent. Only the ticking clock and the rasp of a folder closing filled the air. 33 years on the bench, I had seen grifters of every kind, but never someone so foolish as to write his own indictment in emails and selfies. Courtroom 7, Pacific Heights Family Court. The gallery was packed to the walls, not a single seat left. Whispers, the scratch of pens, and the relentless flash of cameras fused into a wall of sound pressing down on the room. People weren't just here to watch a custody hearing, they had come to witness a husband, a father, and a betrayer stripped bare under the light of justice. I, Henry Caldwell, was not seated on the judge's bench, as I had been for 20 years, but at the plaintiff's table, fighting for the future of my granddaughter, Sophie Blake. Across from me sat Dr. Adrian Blake, beside attorney Stephen Lowell. Expensive suit, but Lowell's face was cast down, already aware he was carrying an almost impossible case. Sophie sat pressed close to me, her brown hair in 2 braids, her face so much like Laura's it hurt to look at. "Will Mommy be okay, Grandpa?" "Yes, sweetheart, Mommy will be okay." I squeezed her hand. Judge Caroline Hughes entered. The gavel struck. "This is an emergency custody hearing in the matter of Blake v. Caldwell. The petitioner seeks temporary guardianship of minor Sophie Blake." Stephen Lowell rose first. "Your Honor, Dr. Adrian Blake is the biological father and primary guardian. Mr. Caldwell's petition rests on unfounded accusations." Margaret Doyle was on her feet at once. "Objection. Those accusations are backed by ongoing federal criminal charges under active investigation." "Sustained," Judge Hughes replied, her eyes stern. "Mr. Lowell, stay on custody." Lowell shuffled his papers, his voice dulling. "Dr. Blake is a respected physician with no criminal record. Mr. Caldwell is 75 years old, far too frail to care for a young child." Judge Hughes tilted her head. "Mr. Lowell, you're familiar with Judge Caldwell's professional record?" "Yes, Your Honor." Stroop, 33 years on the bench, thousands of family cases, not one overturned on appeal. I believe his competence speaks for itself." Margaret called the first witness, Nurse Clara Mendoza. Her badge gleamed 38 years of service. She leaned into the microphone, her voice calm but hard as steel. "On October 20th, 3:15 a.m., Dr. Blake entered the ICU carrying an unlabeled syringe. I requested a physician's order. He became hostile." "What was in the syringe?" "In the syringe. Concentrated potassium chloride, enough to stop a heart." The courtroom froze. The clerk typed the words, "Potassium chloride." "In your professional opinion," Margaret pressed, "would that drug have killed Laura Caldwell?" "Without a doubt." And in 3 weeks of hospitalization, how many times did Dr. Blake visit his wife? Twice, each under 10 minutes. Not once did he hold her hand. Lowell tried to cross-examine but quickly retreated. The testimony cut straight to the heart of the case. Next witness, Victor Ramirez. He lit the big screen bank statements blown up, numbers colder than any words. $412,000 siphoned from Laura's accounts in 5 months, funding his affair while she lay in the ICU. November 2nd, withdrew $9,500 from her trust. The same day, $9,100 spent at Bellevue Avenue Jewelers for Vanessa Liu. Did Dr. Blake attempt to access life insurance funds? Yes. Called daily, inquiring about death benefits, while obstructing treatments that could save his wife. Judge Hughes's notes slowed, her face heavy. Next, Dr. Evelyn Park. Her tone was that of an indictment. This was no medical negligence. This was an assassination plan disguised in a doctor's coat. Dr. Blake fabricated identities, forged documents, manipulated the EMR. His aim, let Laura die, collect $5.8 million in double indemnity, all while maintaining a legal facade. The courtroom erupted. The gavel thundered. Silence returned. Lowell tried, strained. Dr. Park, could this not be a legitimate medical decision clouded by emotional bias? Potassium chloride is not a treatment for brain trauma. It exists only in executions. Final witness, Agent Isabel Torres, FBI. Her badge gleamed under the lights. Federal charges against Dr. Blake: wire fraud, bank fraud, insurance fraud, conspiracy to commit murder. With this body of evidence presented in federal court, he will not walk free. And the accomplice? Vanessa Liu, arrested while attempting to flee, is cooperating. She's providing detailed records of the scheme, along with photos celebrating the successful accident the night Laura was injured. Adrian's head snapped up for the first time, emotion on his face. The car accident. Was it truly an accident? Margaret asked. Forensics confirmed brake lines deliberately cut with a surgical instrument. Gasps, stifled sobs, pens clattering to the floor. Adrian sagged in his chair, color draining from his face. Judge Hughes turned to Lowell. Does your client wish to speak in his own defense? Lowell whispered. Adrian shook his head. No, Your Honor. Margaret's closing words struck like a hammer. Adrian Blake attempted twice to murder his wife, stole her money to buy jewelry for his mistress, and abandoned Sophie to party on yachts. This child deserves protection, not exploitation. She pointed toward Sophie, gripping my hand tight. Lowell managed only a weak protest. Regardless of allegations, Dr. Blake is the biological father. Blood relation matters. The gavel fell. The sound echoed like a death knell. The court has heard enough. Emergency guardianship is granted to Henry Caldwell, effective immediately. Judge Hughes's eyes hardened. Dr. Blake, your parental rights are suspended pending resolution of criminal charges. No unsupervised contact with the minor is permitted. Adrian buried his face in trembling hands. The luxury watch on his wrist caught the light, a cruel emblem. All the glitter that once masked the truth, now shining only as evidence of ruin. The echo of the gavel resounded like the toll of a death knell for a betrayer. All marital assets were frozen for forensic review. I was officially appointed by the court as guardian of Laura Caldwell's estate. Beside me, Sophie tugged gently at my sleeve. Grandpa, does that mean I get to live with you? Yes, sweetheart, for as long as you want. In the hallway, a storm of media descended. Flashbulbs cracked like lightning, microphones thrust forward like 1,000 spears at my face. Shouts and questions merged into chaos, the atmosphere as tense as a battlefield. Judge Caldwell, how do you feel about this victory? I thought of Laura, still fighting in the ICU. I thought of Sophie, finally safe, beyond the reach of her father's greed. This isn't a victory. This is protecting family. As Margaret Doyle and I walked toward the car, I saw Dr. Adrian Blake in handcuffs, escorted by FBI agents. The arrogance in his eyes was gone, replaced only by the terror of a man who knew the doors of freedom had closed forever. Cold sweat streaked down his temples. His crumpled suit bore no trace of the successful surgeon he once pretended to be. 4 months later, in the quiet hospital room, Laura's eyes fluttered open. Her lashes trembled like a victory after a long storm. Then a weak but clear voice broke the silence. "Dad." My world shattered into light. The doctors had sworn this was impossible, but they were wrong. I gripped her hand, trembling. "I'm here, sweetheart." Laura tried to sit up. I steadied her carefully, IV lines still taped to her arms. "Where's Adrian?" The question that had haunted me for months. I swallowed hard, my voice breaking. "He's gone, Laura, and he'll never touch you again." Laura nodded slowly, unsurprised. "I remember, the brakes failing, and Adrian, furious, talking about money. You don't need to think about that anymore. Sophie is with me. She's safe. Every day she reads books to you." For the first time in 4 months, a smile returned to Laura's lips. Last week, the criminal trial concluded. Adrian Blake, guilty on all counts. 25 years to life, no parole. A life wasted behind steel bars. Vanessa Liu, 12 years, with possible parole after 5. The woman who once raised a champagne glass now counts her days behind prison walls. The civil case also ended in victory. Laura's trust, stolen assets, and damages totaling $2,400,000 were recovered. Adrian's medical license was permanently revoked. The luxury yacht was seized by the FBI and auctioned to cover restitution. The day Laura opened her eyes was also the day Sophie came running down the hall, her small footsteps echoing, backpack bouncing. When the door burst open, light seemed to pierce the darkness. "Mom, you're awake!" Laura opened her arms, holding her daughter tight. Their tears blended into one, not tragedy anymore, but life and return. "I missed you so much, sweetheart. Grandpa took great care of me. Every Sunday we made pancakes, and I came to visit you every day." Dr. Linda Crawford stepped in during evening rounds. "Laura, your recovery is extraordinary. We rarely see neuroregeneration like this. When can I go home?" "A few more weeks of physical therapy, but the outlook is very promising." That night, Sophie fell asleep in the chair beside her mother's bed. I tucked a blanket over her. Laura whispered, "Dad." "Yes? Thank you for protecting us." Her hand tightened around mine. For the first time in months, I felt her true strength again, not from her body, but from a heart that had just defeated death. "I should have listened when you warned me about him." "My dear, you loved. You wanted to believe in the best in people. I understand. But I'll never make that mistake again." Outside, the sun set over the Seattle waterfront, the sky ablaze with red as if sealing an old chapter. Inside the hospital room, the monitors hummed steadily, but I knew the real heartbeat was the one pulsing in the arms of my family, a rhythm no darkness could ever silence. There are moments when justice doesn't come from a courtroom, but from the resolve of a father, a grandfather, who dares to stand against the shadows to protect his family. My story isn't only about crime and punishment, but a reminder: the greatest power in life is to protect those we love. If this story touched you, share your thoughts in the comments. Where do you believe true justice begins? Don't forget to like this video, share it so others can see the strength of truth, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the stories yet to come.